Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We're your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
Well, busyness, overworking, addictive doing, and perfectionism might be the norm. It's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams. Let's dive in. Okay, so I am so excited to share with you one of our awesome clients, share our client with you. So Alice has been on an amazing healing journey, and I talk to our people all the time, and so I feel inspired every day with the people that I talk to. But I think there's something special when you hear someone else's healing journey, because actually there's research around this that it actually helps to metabolize trauma. So when someone's been through a chronic illness, and we'll hear a lot about the weird things that were going on for Alice, it can be really isolating. Sometimes you get to a point where people are like, are you just making this all up? And so when you can hear other people's stories and that there is a way to actually heal and come out the other end, it can help to validate your own experience and give you more hope for yourself to end your own body burnout. Okay, so we, Chris and I have loved being part of Alice's healing journey so far. She is so dedicated. I feel like anything that we have put down for you, you have picked up. You're like, yep, I'll do it. Yep, I'll jump in. Like, you just jump into the deep end and willing to go deep into all layers of healing, not just stopping at the physical, but the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and really healing your whole self, which is just so awesome to see. And I think the results speak for themselves when you can treat your body holistically. Plus, she's just a beautiful person. So I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Phil. It's my pleasure.
Yay. Okay. So maybe we'll just dive straight into the dark side. Like, how were you feeling? How were you feeling before you reached out to us?
When I reached out to you folks, I was recovering from my breast implant removal surgery. And then you can talk a little bit about it, because I had what people have been calling breast implant illness. And it took me a while to discover what was going on. So like, even before this surgery, I was having heaps of symptoms, and I had my first contact with functional medicine, which gave me some relief at the time, but then the symptoms came back all over again. So probably at that time, nothing would help anyway, unless I removed the breast implants. But because of the toxicity, I was aware that I should be doing something. So there's a lot of DIY things that people recommend after doing the removal, but I didn't want it to. There was a lot of suffering. I wanted to make sure that I was going to come back to a good place of functioning, of health. And then I started to looking for some functional practitioner that would fit my style. And we can talk about my style. And I was lucky because I saw Philly talking about histamine intolerance. At the time, I said, oh, do I have histamine intolerance? I discovered that I didn't. So it was in the Natural Medicine Health Week.
That was last year.
It was last year, yeah. And I really loved her approach. So I kind of shortlisted her in my list of like top 3 functional practitioners that I felt like going to, and I asked some probing questions, and she passed all my tests. I really wanted someone that I wanted to collaborate with. At the time, I had some knowledge. I'm the kind of the person that I like to go deep into things, and she was spot on. Like I said, that's it, that's her. So let's do it.
I think you even asked about MTHFR gene mutation, which we will get into later. And I'm like, I just wrote a chapter about that in my book, and I'm like, email it to you.
That's it.
So for people who aren't familiar with breast implant illness, so that's basically where the implants become very toxic and your body's responding really negatively to it, almost like an inflammatory response to the toxins inside the implants. And for some people, they can get really, really sick. Like, can you paint a picture in terms of some of those symptoms that you were experiencing before you got the implants out?
Oh, before. Okay. So the interesting thing is that before I wasn't aware. Before I had the whole thing with the implants, I just have a bunch of sickness, seemingly unrelated. And looking back, I have these things I can remember, like since I was 16, but even early, as a child, I would take lots of antibiotics. And then growing like around my 16, like very anxious. I didn't even know that I had some mild panic attacks. And then it started in a cycle of disease that wouldn't just fire. So around my 20s, I would have some herpes in my esophagus, and like, well, what's that? Do you have AIDS or anything? Like, no, that's a very weak immune system. I remember, I even forgot about mentioning this to Philip, so I'm saying now, I went into a cycle of vaccines to improve my immune system, and nothing would help. So like different kind of things, always sick. When I was around 31, I had my daughter, and that was good. It was a okay pregnancy. I took a lot of care with my health and so on. And this was in 2012. On 2015, I have my first contact like with low carb, paleo style diets. And this kind of helped. I felt an improvement because you remove gluten, you remove sugar. Like you kind of had this, was say, wow, that's it. So I stopped. When I was like, used to take like almost, I could take one dose of antibiotic per quarter. I'd say 4 times in a year.
Yeah.
Like destroying my gut. And, once I removed sugar and gluten, it was okay. I thought, well, I found the cure. But then I didn't. And like I took it in 2000, it was around 2015, I had a transient ischemic attack.
That's pretty intense for a young person.
Exactly. It's kind of a mini stroke. At the time, it was attributed to the use of contraception pills. Wow. So I stopped in there. So now I'm grateful because it was the first thing that I removed that I didn't need it, one less chemical in my body.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, I was exercising, I was doing CrossFit, the body was getting great. I said, well, why not like putting some breast implants? And then I had this surgery in 2016. 2 years later, in 2018, like I think that in the next year, I was going through some changes in my life and facing anxiety, facing like a kind of a different personality, like depression, that it wasn't myself, but at the time I wouldn't notice. You just think that's life, and that's okay. In 2018, I started having a heavy pain in my abdomen to the point that I had to stop working. And I had to stop working for 3 weeks, going from GP to GP, staying overnight at the hospital just to be sent home without no one telling me what was going on. And then I came across in a Facebook ad some news of the disease that's crippling Australia. It was a lady talking about her endometriosis. And then there was a Facebook group, and I was having a heavy crisis of endometriosis pain. Had surgery, got better. At the time, I didn't associate it at all. Now, looking back, I'm pretty sure. that the endometriosis was also caused because the breast implants, they mess up with your hormones.
Yeah.
And so that was 2 years after the surgery to put the implants. This was 2018. 2019, the digestive symptoms appeared to the point that I was barely eating anything. I couldn't eat anything, like meat, everything that I would eat. I was basically eating asparagus and mushrooms because it was the only thing that I could eat. And at the time, it was the first time that I got contact with functional medicine. That I said, well, here I'm having better answers than I had so far.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. So it's almost, I remember when you first reached out and you're like, been sick since the the breast implants. Now I've got them out. But then when we started looking back at history, definitely signs that things weren't quite right in the body, even from a young age. And then over the time, different things started happening, got the breast implants. Then that was like the last straw on the camel's back, probably. And like getting to the point where you can only eat asparagus and mushrooms. It's not worth living.
It's not.
How is it? How is that all affecting like other things in your life as well, like your relationships? Were you able to work or like?
Yeah, during the whole time, I think that I was fortunate that I was still being able to work, but over time, like I started stopping everything. So I was very active. So I just have energy barely to work and to do the house things and nothing else. Mm-hmm. So I would save my energy to do the basic things. At this point in time, around 2019, there's something that happened that we can talk about it, that I had a slight improvement before I removed. But at this point in time, I have the list of the symptoms here, everything that I was having. So I had fatigue, chronic fatigue, cognitive dysfunction like brain fog, memory loss, muscle aches, pain, weakness, joint pain, soreness, ringing in the ears, heart palpitations, shortness of breath, insomnia, burning pain around the chest or breast, like there's a lot of pain, especially my left breast, like vertigo, declining vision. So I would go to the optometrist, something's going on, but we do not know exactly what it is. Digestive issues of all the type, food intolerances and allergies, feeling like I'm dying, mood swings, emotional stability, anxiety, depression. And I have this list because at the time I would take all of them to take to the GPs to say, yeah, this seems all related and so on. So yeah, it was affecting a lot my life personally, but I didn't need to stop working and living. In the end, I had to stop exercising at all just to stick to the minimum. I didn't have energy.
What was your experience too going around to GPs and specialists? And I don't know if I've asked you this. When did you actually start thinking, maybe it might be the breast implants? Since 2015, I already started to have this awareness that something was going very wrong with the traditional medicine system. Yeah. So I was aware. Like when I would go to a GP and say, oh, your cholesterol is a bit high, you should take simvastatin or something like this. I knew that this wasn't right. So I know that was something that not quite okay, that the recommendations like would always lean towards like medicines and so on. About the breast implants, it was similar to endometriosis. I research a lot, but I also consider myself pretty blessed as well in terms of things coming to me unexpectedly. So I don't quite remember where it was in an Instagram post, some celebrity, someone going through it because things were starting to appear. Yeah. So that was it in 2019. I have this first, and then I landed in this Facebook community where there's a lot of ladies going through this and the professionals not recognizing. So in 2019 was pretty hard because even the professionals that were doing the explant, that's what's called the surgery to remove the breast implants, they're not fully bought that breast implant illness was a thing.
So it was the woman say, like, no, that's not, we're not inventing this. That's serious. We're going through this. So it was pretty hard. So I went to this doctor that she was doing the surgeries in my city. And she would say, yeah, I've been receiving some ladies report. Yeah, we can do it. So this was 2019. My husband was pretty concerned that I was doing something a bit extreme, that I could do it and wouldn't reverse. And at the time, I ended up deciding not to do it because I was having some symptoms like the joint pain. I started associating with some autoimmune disease. And all of these things myself bootstrapping, like looking, because no one was really giving me any direction, any help about what was going on. I said, like, this looks like an autoimmune thing. Let's do something that's autoimmune related. So I came across the autoimmune protocol diet. That helped me a lot. So in 2019, from the place of just eating mushrooms and asparagus, I was able to start eating things again.
That's awesome.
So I thought, yeah. And what was the conclusion in 2019? It wasn't the breast implants.
Yeah, okay.
Because
you kept getting these improvements. I remember you sent me a meme when we started working after a group call when we were looking at like what's the deepest root cause, and we'll get to that in a seckie. And you sent me a meme of a sheep. Like the man pulling the sheep out of the crack. So there was a big crevice and then the sheep is like, yay, I'm free. And then it jumps back into the crack again. And that's almost like your experience. Hey, like you would do something and then it's like, oh, yes, starting to feel better. Okay, great, awesome. And then something else would happen and things would flare up again. So and healing happens in layers too. And that was my experience as well. Like with everything that I did, there were improvements, but it wasn't until I could heal all layers, then body burnout ended.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's my experience. Like even doing our treatment, right? I would get very excited with some like feeling something now. I kind of had a drop here. The shit fall into the crack. Help me get out again. And then we would do it, right?
Yeah. That's totally normal too. Like it's never just a lovely straight line up. It's usually up and down and little learnings along the way. So when you reached out to us, you'd had the breast implants removed and it had been about 2 months, I think, or ish.
I think so. While I was like right after I had the surgery, I think that even like detoxification protocols, they recommended to be done only 6 weeks after the surgery. So I tried to follow these recommendations. So I've made the contact and kind of booked, okay, let's line up the first consultations once I'm ready to fully get in. And I think that's what's worthwhile. Like we're like in the timeline of 2019. So after the AIP diet, it got better. And then I got worse. And then 2020, we have COVID. I had COVID twice. I had vaccines. So all these things, like I do not really know, really threw me like it was the worst. So that was the beginning of 2022. And that's when I decided to do the surgery because I was convinced. Another interesting thing, like 3 years later, when I came back to this surgeon about the breast implant illness, and she said, yeah, I've been operating many ladies, hundreds of them.
Oh, wow.
With similar situation of yours. Not a single one of them got better. Not a single one of them didn't get better.
Yeah.
Only one that had previous conditions like anorexia. But yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
So 3 years later, the same doctor, she recognized that it was a thing. And
That's really cool too, though, that you really you were part of that movement. Had you not turned up and expressed the things that you were going on with you, as did the other women, like it would still not really be recognized as an issue. So it takes courage to actually almost challenge, I guess, the medical system as well, in that this research isn't here yet, the case studies aren't here yet, although we're now presenting with all these things. And then 3 years later, it's now recognised as an issue that should be considered when someone gets breast implants.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first part like when a client starts working with us is what we call the answers phase. So that's all the like fun lab testing and getting really clear on what body systems have burnt out. And for you too, I mean, we didn't know, like, is this as a result of the breast implants or were these imbalances there already? Highly likely there was stuff going on before that made you more susceptible to having for your body to react so poorly to the breast implants. So are you happy to share some lab test findings? Or do you remember?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one thing that's interesting for us to share, Philly, is that when I looked for you, I came to let's do the lab testing.
Yeah.
Because you have these things here, we're going to analyze, you're going to work on them. So once we have the first round, I think that the MTHFR was one of the things. I was pretty sure that was having challenges with the MTFHR gene.
Yeah.
And in the end, that was my criteria to choose Philly, actually. And in the end, there was nothing related. It was there was the mutation, but it wasn't causing any dysfunction.
Yeah.
So it was a good finding as well, right? But in the beginning, I wasn't aware. I honestly, I didn't quite understand because I didn't know what was behind. And that's why I think that initiatives like the podcast really helps to inform people with the cases, what's going on and what's the purpose, right?
Yeah.
For me, Philly was just a better replacement for my previous functional medicine practitioner that showed to me like dozens of lab tests that I didn't know what to do about it, felt pretty overwhelmed and didn't have a way out. So Philly for me would be a step up because I trust on her evaluation, but she showed much more because she has a method. And I can talk a little bit more about why the method was valuable for me. But the beginning, my commitment, let's just have functional medicine appointments, and that's okay for me. And she respected. She said, that's okay. Let's go through the tests. But then I think that the burnout part is interesting. That gave me the click that I needed something more, right? So what we discovered in our lab test. So I was in stage 2 adrenal fatigue. So that would explain, like, I would look at people like, how do these people, because I would go through my week working, and by the weekend, like, just didn't want to do anything. And with a young kid, that was pretty hard to say, well, how does that work? I didn't even imagine that my fatigue wasn't something that was normal. So also had like low testosterone and progesterone, the hormonal things, like also related with my previous history of endometriosis. Tiny bit of parasites.
Tiny? The blasto was huge. So you had blastocystis hominis. So it's tested in units. I think below 2 is acceptable. Yours is at 334.
That was a lot. I just used because it was just one.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that it wasn't that much. So there was a lot.
Yeah.
And some other things that I cannot explain, but I think that the detox issues was one of the things as well.
Yeah, which we haven't yet got up to. I think that's our next point, and your body's so ready for that. Like generally detoxification. Well, the fact that you had such a poor outcome with the breast implants, highly likely that there were detox issues previously. I find that people who are quite sensitive or even develop autoimmune type conditions, food sensitivities in general, there's generally an issue with detoxification. So we did a few tests. One of them was the organic acid test, and that looked at whether your methylation gene mutation was expressing or not. And it was pretty good. It was fine. However, you still had the detox issue. So that's still part of the picture of methylation. So highly likely that little gene mutation might have just been affecting your ability to clear toxins like super effectively. How did you feel too when you got all this data?
Well, like having the data, I had the experience before, right? So it was even like NutriPath. I have gone through that thing. So, but I had some hope that we would be able to action on that data and without being overwhelmed by it. And like, okay, let's treat one thing at a time in a way that I could absorb, you know. And I think that is individual to every person. So in our relationship, sometimes I would say, yeah, Philly, I can take more. Or sometimes you would propose something, no, I don't think that I can take right now. Let's wait a little bit.
Yeah.
And there was this negotiation the whole time, like, in which I always appreciated.
Yeah. My mentor or old mentor, Dr. Kalish, so he's the one that taught me in functional medicine. I remember him saying, he's like, when you're talking to a client or a patient, imagine you've taken them out on a date. You wouldn't like pull out the menu and say, you need to have this wine and this entree. And you would negotiate. You would say, what would you like? What do you feel like? And I do respect like that everyone's different. Some people love to go all in really fast. Let's do all the body systems, although that's highly unsafe. So I pull those people back. Whereas other people are a little bit more slow and steady and methodical. And I think too, I mean, I've had other clients as well, like you, where they have had a bunch of lab tests and they didn't really action any of it because their practitioner didn't know how or didn't know when it was appropriate. So like our method is breaking it up into different body systems so that we can do that safely, effectively, and in a way that aligns with how you respond as a person as well. Okay, so a bunch of body systems, burnout, that's like awesome to know about because then we can start resetting those therapeutically and make you feel better faster. But a lot of people think that that's the root cause. It's like, I've got adrenal fatigue or leaky gut or detox. I found the root cause. But unfortunately, we need to dig a bit deeper. So our question always with our clients when we get the lab test results back is what actually caused these body systems to burn out in the first place? And there are a myriad of root causes. So from environment to the habits or behaviors that you have, we're very big on the body-mind connection as well because we're a whole being. So are you happy to share what you've discovered about yourself and root causes?
Yeah, there's a pivotal moment, right? So I was in that mood of, Philly, just give me the exam, the tests. I'm going to do what you tell me and I'm going to get recovered. So while we was in this process and feeling very respectful of my choices at the time.
And can I just clarify? So Alice is talking about let's do lab tests and supplements basically. Like, let's just do the lab test, give me the supplements my body needs.
That's it. Like I could even hear them say like there's some root cause. I just would disregard this information. My brain wouldn't process this because I knew what I needed. And then while we were in this process, I burnt out from work. And it was my second experience, like with that burnout where your brain just stops and I would open the computer and my body, interestingly enough, it was my first experience where, because as we go, like we're already going through some of the things and I was having some improvements just with the supplement and with the adrenal fatigue and my mind, I wasn't feeling that I was in that anxious state or depression state anymore. So this burnout was different. It was all about body reactions. So my mind would be clear. I wouldn't be thinking about overthinking, about any like repetitive thought or anything. It was all in the body. So for me, that was, okay, how come something is going on? Is not in my mind. And that's when I started having contact with, okay, there's more than just your mind. There's more than just your physiologic system. So there's something else. And I think that's where something else going on. And I think that started. And then I went to feel like, what's going on? And then when she explained to me, and then I said, yeah, I need the whole program. I need the whole thing. And then I joined the body burnout because I understood what they're trying to treat in there, because I had a clear example of some manifestation that I wasn't able to treat with supplements or with rationalization or with anything. There was something else going on.
Yeah. So just, I guess, like more so for the listeners. So the ending body burnout method looks at all layers, like at the deepest root cause are the things that are held in our subconscious or unconscious state. And that's really common for people who are having these body reactions. And so a lot of the times, and often this occurs when we're children, we have these experiences and our body's always storing these experiences and these emotions. And as a kid, if you have something negative happen to you, generally, because of the way our nervous system is hardwired for safety, we'll usually make it mean something negative and usually about ourselves, because it's kind of like it's an act of protection. And so then these things get stored inside our body, and for some people it will show up as like anxiety and mental health issues and that sort of stuff. But for other people, it can literally show up in the body as well, which is really common too with kids who are getting sick all the time. It's like, that's interesting. Yeah, let's do some gut testing and look at all that. But what else is happening in their life? Are you happy to share any sort of specifics in terms of things that you discovered that caused you to feel unsafe in your nervous system is really what it was all about?
Exactly. So that was the discovery for me, right? So this thing about nervous system and nervous system dysregulation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've learned is that I've been dysregulated for quite a while. And like going back like to the exercise, to the workshops, when you try to go deep in terms of trying to understand, like I do not have one single thing that happened that I can track to the past, but it was just the overall situation. So my parents, they divorced when I was 5. My mom was pretty young at the time, like she was 29. And like still wanting to live her life. So I kind of grew with my mom as a sister, with my grandmother. So there was something missing. There was a lot missing. So now that I'm a mom, not that I blame my mom for everything, but I understood that this was really in the midst of my root causes. Like even the previous functional practitioner, when I told this story and she asked me some questions about my past, I remember she said, yeah, you're not nurtured as a child. And then I learned that this wasn't there. So many of the behaviors that I would manifest as an adult, like perfectionism, needing to be accepted. I was always trying to please my mom to get her attention. So I learned that many of my behaviors would lead to this, right? And it was amazing. It's not that I blame my mom for anything. I think that another thing that we learn on the workshops is that as an adult, we need to be able to parent ourselves. We have resource. We do not need to live in the past with the blaming something, because she had her own struggles, her own traumas as well. And then we are able to rationalize this kind of stuff. And it's kind of a messy process sometimes. So Chris and Philly, they sometimes in the workshops, they use the expression poking the wounds. Sometimes in the workshops, you really feel like, I don't like this. I do not feel good about this. I do not know what's going on, but I will embrace, I will process, and let's see how we move forward.
Yeah.
And sometime later, because this processing doesn't happen at the rational level. What I learned is that my body manifestations are coming from the subconscious mind in this process. So like all the breathing exercise, it's amazing, like knowing how to self-regulate, not just by trying to have different thinking, which is part of it as well. But when it's just on your body, you need to have body things that will help to put your system in a good place again. So it's amazing, like the whole thing sum up in a set that really helps you to get to that place, to really understand what's going on. So I think that the first step is about awareness, about a bunch of things that I wasn't aware. And then with our own investigations as well, I end up reading a lot. They have recommended books and I look for my own things as well. But it's an amazing, like I think that's about 8 months journey so far.
Yeah. I do remember you telling me to when you really went back into the past and the childhood and you were processing a lot of stuff, you had a body experience. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Like you
I
were
remember.
tingly.
I just
What was
had
that?
now.
Oh, did
as
you?
talked, yeah.
Oh, it
Yes,
just came back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a tingling sensation. Like at the time, as I was uncovering, there was this tingling sensation. I'm feeling now.
Good
I'm
sensation?
through it.
Like energetic or?
It's not bad or good. It's energetic.
Yeah.
It's not bad or good. It was kind of like, you said, like it's energy, like feeling something being unpacked.
Yeah.
Like it's
shifted.
crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Yeah.
I don't know if it was exactly the same, and I've told our clients this story many a times, and I think I've shared it publicly as well, but when I was doing my own inner healing and then my heartburn shifted and same feeling, like it was just that energy. For me, it was like really intense light and love and rippling through my body. But it like that energy and that shifting of energy is healing. Like it's healing stuff. It's moving emotion. It's helping to regulate your nervous system. And it can literally dislodge symptoms as well, which is just phenomenal, amazing.
I'm processing a bit more like small electric impulses.
Yeah.
So the tingling would be some tiny bit, one side by side with the other.
Yeah.
And that's it. As I was processing, I would feel like when something new was uncovered, it was kind of that aha moment, but manifested in my body.
Yeah. So cool. So cool. Do you have any other examples too, like when you realized things were shifting and changing and your problem was getting solved, like anything else showing up health-wise or even the way you were showing up as a mom or a wife or in work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that you have this increase. I think that for me, this increase of mental space was great. Like you have this increased capacity where the time and energy, they're not too much of a blocker. Well, of course, I noticed that my energy were the blockers. And you have sometimes that lethargy to do some things, like even to cook. There's been quite a while since I wasn't able to cook, like finishing the work day. That's a pretty recent one, Philly. I haven't even updated you on this.
Oh, nice.
I've been cooking on a daily basis with a lot of pleasure, which is different than just doing the things because you have to do.
Yeah.
Like doing now because my family, and that's something that sometimes appears on the workshops. And we have people like in different stages on the journey. But this thing about being kind to yourself, like, okay, right now I cannot do this, but I know I'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I need to keep finding a way and testing things, giving some time and so on. So this increased capacity, I like, even at work, I'm a software engineer, so I wasn't studying more, was giving me a bit of anxiety. And I started feeling energized again in learning more, like in doing more, and how I show myself as a mom. So there was a lot of guilty because sometimes I wasn't present at all. Sometimes I didn't have the energy. And I'm much more patient. Of course, like every mom, we have our our moments, but it's much better. It's really about feeling good about yourself. I think that happiness is a bit overrated, but I feel content.
I love it.
And
you're eating all the foods again, like even some dairy and gluten and eggs when you want to, and you're not reacting to them.
Exactly. Eggs was one of the last bastions to fall, because even when we were going to the treatment, I was still having a lot of intolerance to eggs. And I love eggs. Like I would eat every day if it wasn't so bad for gut diversity, because you shouldn't be eating everything every day, but I would. But yeah, I can just like eat everything, and it's been great.
So good.
From mushroom to in asparagus to eating everything. That's a kind of a
life is complete again.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I have actually learned some things that I didn't know. So I love this. Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of you having the courage as well to come and share your story, because I know a lot of people, hold this dear to their heart. And so it's just, I think it's amazing, especially the breast implant, more awareness around that. And also the fact that you can go from just eating mushrooms and asparagus to eating all the things. Like, you can heal. You have all the resources inside of you. Now, do you have anything you would like to share before we finish up for anyone out there who might be listening, struggling in body burnout or feeling like they're not getting anywhere or there's no hope? What would you say to someone if you met someone on the street?
Well, first I would like to declare my gratitude for Chris and Philly's work. It's amazing. I think that's the kind of thing that goes against. It's pretty hard because you go against the status quo. When there are a lot of people suffering, like because of lack of knowledge, because the mainstream knowledge says something and they're going against. So I really hope that every year their business, their message spread across more and more, so it can touch more people like me, for example, that sometimes are in a desperate stage, that do not know what to do it, so they can have some hope. And for the people who are listening that are going through some tough moments, I think that there's a way. So all these things, like sometimes even with mental health issues, there's a narrative like, oh, you're depressed, you're nothing, like you're a beautiful human being. There's some circumstances in your life that led you to where you are, and everything can be healed. So I think that's the message. Keep looking forward. If you're listening to this podcast, you are in the right place. So that's what I'd say.
Awesome. Amen, sister. I love it. Thank you so much. So appreciate you. And we love having you in our life.
So do we.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook. Have the best day ever.